Hi, I'm Kristen Fouts, and I work for the United Way of Anderson County. I'm the school program coordinator for Anderson School District 3 in their Teen Pregnancy Prevention Program Impact. I'm about to view Representative Putnam's comments during the subcommittee hearing on House Bill 3435.
For the very first time that we had this hearing, from the very first hearing that we had, we talked with a lady from United Way from Anderson that was in charge of instructing and teaching these classes, and I asked her repeatedly what was the one thing she couldn't teach. Was she not, because in the beginning the authors and the advocates out there said that we weren't teaching health. We weren't teaching scientific risk and diseases and the things like that. So I asked this lady, I was like, well, what diseases are we not teaching right now in the school? She's like, well, we're teaching everything. We're teaching medically accurate scenarios, obviously what you can get, what you can contract from having sexual intercourse. And so I asked her again, I was like, well, what can't we teach? And she said, well, we're teaching everything, we're working fine. And I think it was maybe Anderson School District 5 or something like that. She's like, well, we're teaching everything. So I was like,
we are teaching, and we do follow the Comprehensive Health Education Act of 1988. I am in Anderson School District 3, and I am able to teach medically accurate information. However, unfortunately, most districts around the state do not, and that's what we're working towards. Not what I'm doing, but what others are not.
well, why do we need this bill? Because everybody that told me that we need this bill is we weren't teaching this. And she says, well, underneath the current law, we're allowed to teach all this. And so I was like, well, what's one thing you can't teach? And the one thing she did mention was abortion and stuff like that.
I never mentioned abortion. I do not care to teach about abortion. That is not in this platform. That is not in this bill. I don't appreciate being misquoted that way. I teach medically accurate, scientific information that these kids deserve to hear and know about.
Now, understanding within this bill right now, we spelled out that you can't teach that, but that was the one and only example she could give me about current law.
Do you remember the inconsistency of some of the other counties who testified one thing, but we went back and heard their testimony was like snake oil?
Well,
if people do go back, they will see that Anderson School District 3 does comply with everything in the Comprehensive Health Advisory law.
And it was totally untrue as to what they were saying. And I think the chairman made it clear what this amendment intended to do, to clarify.
And I understand that, but here's the thing is underneath current law, she was allowed to teach everything she needed to. Medically sound information. She was able to teach anything she wanted to teach underneath current law. Now I understand that there's probably some school districts in this state that aren't doing things right, and there probably aren't doing things right in a lot of other regards. But that's up to their local bodies to hold those people accountable. Is it not? Do we not elect school board members to hold our local school districts accountable?
There's a law set in place, and it is up to local school board. However, the law states that certain things must be taught, and therefore we need someone or somebody to make sure that it is in place. We need certified health people who are certified or trained in this information to teach our kids. We need medically accurate information. We need textbooks that aren't out of date. We need scientifically correct, research-based information. We don't need PE teachers who don't care about teaching this information, teaching these classes. We need someone who's going to make sure that our kids are getting this information because they deserve this information. Just because I can do it in my district doesn't mean that everybody is doing it, nor that every child in our state is getting this information, and it's not fair.
And so my question for her from the beginning was, does the current law not allow you to teach this? Because that was the first argument that I ever heard, was the current law didn't allow them to teach this. And I understand, if the current law didn't allow you to teach this, I'm all for improving the law, changing it so you're allowed to teach this. But she says, it's working fine, we can teach what we need to teach. And I understand the argument, there might be some school districts that are out there that aren't teaching it right. But that's up to the local counties, local communities to get involved. It's not up to me to oversee that.
Well, then who is it up to make sure that these districts are following the law? Because they're not, and because the survey that you send out that to see if people are following it, they're not, and our kids aren't getting it. Anderson School District 3 is already going above and beyond the law. Other districts are not. Anderson School District 3 has said, you know what, we want to help our kids, and we want to make sure that they're safe, and we want to have our kids educated. Other districts aren't willing to make that step and to take that step. So who's going to make them do it? We're just going to sit on our butts and watch everybody do what they want to do around the state and not have it done? Real smart.
It's not up to me to oversee that, especially when we're teaching an issue that has different values associated with it within a community.
Different values associated with teen pregnancy prevention? Different values, really? I teach abstinence first. I would love all of our children to remain abstinent until marriage. Absolutely. However, we know that some of our kids aren't, and they need to know what they need to do to be protected. How are those values different among everyone? We all agree that we want our children to abstain from sex. However, we all have to open our eyes and look at the facts that some of our kids are having sex, and they need the information to protect ourselves. And anyone who doesn't think that has their head in the sand, frankly.
It's up to that community to voice concerns. And that's how the democratic process should work. If a community that is in charge of educating their community, they should get involved at the local level and say, hey, you know what? Anderson School District 5 is doing this. We want you to do this. And that's the voices they should argue at their local levels. And so that was my biggest question with all this was it seemed to be working fine in Anderson School District 5 with the current law. I understand your point, Mr. Chairman, that there's some districts that aren't doing it right.
The majority of districts aren't complying with the Comprehensive Health Education Act of 1988, and there's some verbiage that needs to be changed. We have to have people who are comfortable in this information teaching our children. We have to have medically accurate information going out to our children. We need to let them know that, you know what, we want you to be abstinent until married, but if you aren't, this is what you can do. Not tell them, wait till you're married and then you can use this, because for some people that's not their reality. We've got to teach the kids where they are right now. It does no good to tell them what you're going to be doing 10 years ago. We have to meet them where they are. As educators, that is what their job. Our job is. As an English teacher, I'm not going to teach someone a 5-paragraph essay when they can't spell the word essay. You have to meet the student where they are.
But everything from the testimony from the very beginning of the day that they could do this. And if the current law didn't allow them to do this, I would be a champion. I would support it. I would co-sponsor it to allow school districts to have that ability to teach. But never have I ever had a parent, a principal, a teacher, anywhere come up to me and say, Josh, we need this so we can start teaching this. Never. Now, I have had a lot of emails, hundreds and probably thousands at this point, over the 2 years that we've been debating this, coming from two different sides, arguing two different completely things that this bill I don't believe really does. Well, I've had tons of those phone calls and emails and Twitters, and I think there's people tweeting me right now.
Yep, I was one of those tweeting you because I did not like being misquoted. If you are going to talk about something that's happened, let's get the facts straight.
But never one parent, one student, or one principal or one superintendent out of my district or out of Greenville, Pickens, and Anderson, one of the largest school districts in the state, has ever said we need something so we can actually start teaching this.
Well, I'm glad you said that it didn't happen in Greenville or Pickens County, because I know for a fact that there were people from my district and others in Anderson County who sent you mail, handwritten letters that people took their time to write to let you know that they think this is important, because they care about our kids and they care about the future of those children. They care about the future of this state and what we're going through. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not thrilled to have, you know, the number 3 chlamydia rate and the number 4 gonorrhea rate and the 8th highest new HIV cases. Yeah, that's real great to be proud of. Maybe if we teach our children that it's okay to protect yourself, we wouldn't have that problem. I appreciate the opportunity to respond to Representative Putnam's statements at the subcommittee hearing on House Bill 3435. Unfortunately, I was unable to attend the hearing because I was teaching comprehensive health education at the time. I'd also really like to thank the representatives who took initiative and who stood up and voted yes for House Bill 3435, and I look forward in the future to seeing this become law.